Welcome everybody to the 52nd live stream of the Advanced Dungeons and Dynamics 365 Bare Bones Configuration Guide live stream, uh, where we're going out and we're building up Dynamics 365 finance and operations from the ground up to show you that it's really not that hard to do, and also to give you for those of you that are interested, see all of the steps that are required for that. And so what we're doing over the past 50 or so episodes, we've been building up the financials and we've moved over to the supply chain management. And then in the previous live stream, we finished the configuration of the controls and the inventory journals that we're going to be using. And we started working through some of the inventory structures, and we created a site for our Waterdeep trading company um, main location in Waterdeep, and also we went out and created a warehouse. I'm actually going to go and redo those because I don't like the way that the codes that I used were in there. But this gives you a good idea of how we can go back and we can make changes along the way. So let's start and let's move on. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using, as for anyone who's seen these live streams, we're going to be working through this lab. And this is a lab that we started 51 episodes ago. And we've got, now if we go out, we've got let me go over to here. We actually have all of our inventory transactions configured. But we're going to, as I said, we're going to change this, and I'll talk about why, and it's really just personal preference for me. Now, what we're going to be doing is for those of you that haven't seen it, this is the bare bones configuration guide. So these are the guides that I've been working on for a long time that I've just updated over the past couple of months to the 5th edition. And what we've got is we've got by module, and then sort of by part of the system, like inventory management, products, general ledger, and so forth. We've got modules that step you through the configuration. So right now we're on the inventory structures, and what we're doing is we're working through the configuration of the site. And in the previous live stream, we went through and we created the site, as I mentioned, and then we were going through and we're actually going to go out and create a location structure for our warehouse. But I'm going to change that quickly, and I'm going to go back and make some changes. And the reason why I'm going out and doing this is houses. If I go out and do a search, then I don't, for just personal reasons, I don't like the naming that I've got here for the Waterdeep warehouse. Oh, and also I spelled it wrong. So what we're going to do is we're going to go out and we're going to delete these, and we're going to re-add them, and sort of going to start from scratch in this live stream. Now, I can't delete, if I'm going into the system, I try to delete the site that's here, then it's not going to allow me to do it because I've got warehouses. So we're in a good opportunity right now that we can actually go out and make these changes, because we can see that we've got this hierarchy here where we've got a warehouse below this. So I'm going to open up the warehouses. I'm going in here quickly and I'm just working through the menu. I'm going to delete this warehouse structure that we've got here. And now I can go to the sites and I can delete this. Sometimes when you set up things, then you don't like the way that it looks. So you can go out and you can make these changes. So I'm going to add a new site, and really the only change I did is I want to use a 3-letter character here for Waterdeep. And I'm going to add a new address here, and this is going to be the Waterdeep site. And then this is going to, the zip code is going to be Waterdeep. The reason why I'm 01 Waterdeep, and the reason why I'm changing this just for preferences, I want to keep the Waterdeep sort of naming convention the same. And notice I've got Waterdeep in the postal addresses set up that way. And then the location is going to be on 47 Fish Gutter Lane. And this is going to be in the Dock Ward. And this is going to be a primary location, and I'm going to say OK. So now we've gone out and we've set up our site again. And let me expand this out or refresh this. And let's go to our warehouses. And I'm going to go out and create a new warehouse here. And I'm going to make this let's make this Waterdeep warehouse. And then the site that we've got here is going to be Waterdeep. And then the address is going to be warehouse. And I'm going to add this to my dictionary so that we don't see the squiggly lines on Waterdeep. And this is going to be on Fish Gutter Lane as well, on the Dock Ward. Sword Coast, and this is going to be a primary address as well. So what we've done is we've gone out and we've now created a new warehouse. And when I go out and create, for example, a location in Baldur's Gate, then it's be BDG and then warehouse. And also a convention that I've been starting to use is that I'm going to say if this is a warehouse, for example, if it's just a general warehouse that isn't using warehouse management, then I have WH for warehouse. If this is using warehouse management, then I usually make that a larger warehouse, so it's more of a distribution center. So I've got some logic around how I'm going out and doing this. So we've gone out, and if I move back to our documentation, so we've gone out and we've created the Waterdeep location. We didn't create the Waterdeep store, but if we want to go out and create a warehouse for a retail location, then that will be like Waterdeep ST for store or something else that we may set up in the system. So now what we're going to do is we're going to configure the inventory locations. So if we look at our warehouse, and let me pin this, then we're going to be tracking by location for all of our work. And if I look in the inventory locations, we don't have any locations set up here. So this is really going to be the next task that we want to do. Now I could go out and I could create an inventory location here by hand, but I don't want to go out and do that. I want to go out and use a wizard in order to do that. Now, what I want to do is let's go down, and I want to go to let's see, let me find this. Okay, we want to say how are we tracking our inventory within this warehouse. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, let me see, I want to, this is a large warehouse. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, I want to use I want to have aisles, and also I want to have racks, and also I want to have shelves. So I'm not going to use bins for this. So what I'm saying is we've got an aisle going down the warehouse, and then we've got racks, which there's maybe like 5 racks going down that aisle, and then there are shelves on those racks. Now, if I wanted to go out and, or let me go back to my server. So I'll go back to here. So what I did is I went to the location names. I apologize for that. And I checked, go back and set this. I checked the aisle and the rack and the shelf. And so what this is doing is saying I've got an aisle, a rack, and a shelf. A bin would be, for example, on that shelf, maybe you've got 3 bins. So you could go down to a more granular level, but I don't want to do that. That's maybe a little bit too detailed. So now the aisles are usually just one digit, or maybe they're going to be more. No, the aisle could be 2 digits, for example, and the rack is going to have another digit associated with it, and then the shelf is going to have another digit associated with it. So what I'm going to do here is for the rack, I'm going to give it a format that I want to use. So if you notice here, we've got I said I want to, if I look at the documentation, I've got it set up that I want to have a hyphen here. But something else that I've started to do is go out and say, I want to have an R at the beginning. So this is going to say that I can have up to 10 racks here, or up to 99 racks actually, here within my format. And then for the level, which is shelf, then I'm going to have one digit here. But maybe I want to change this, and I'm just going to have a 1-digit format for the rack and a 1-digit level for the shelf. Now I put the R at the beginning so that we can see over here in the sample format, it'll be something and then rack 2, shelf 3, which is better than if I go out and if I say, just give it a number like this, which is 00123, which you really can't tell what's the rack and what's the shelf. So I'm going to add that here. Now I'm talking a little bit more about this, but say, for example, if I wanted to have a bin inside of here, then I could include the bin, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave it how it is. So now when we have a location, it's going to be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's going to be a 7-digit or 7-character identification for that location. Now, the reason why I do that is that so that I can go out and I can create my warehouse structure. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the location wizard to go out and create that. So if we go back to the document, then what we're doing is we've gone out and we've configured our inventory structure. We tweaked the location configuration just a little bit. But now what we're going to do is we're going to say, go out and create all of these locations for us so that we can go out and see these. And we're going to give it a lot of information, and then you're going to see how this gets created. So I'm in the location creation wizard, and I'm just going to say, I want to go next. And what do I want to create? I want to create inventory aisles, some inbound and outbound docks, so where we're receiving and picking, some picking locations, and maybe some bulk locations that we want to use. Now for the inventory aisles, let's say this is a small warehouse, and maybe we just have, I'm just going to have 3 aisles here. And the naming format for this is going to be, let's say, the naming format. We'll try this out and we'll see how this works. I'm going to put an A in front of this, just like we had the rack and the shelf. And I'm going to have 2 digits here. And then, so we've got aisles A1, A2, and A3, and then a special aisle. So using this format throughout the system will be pretty easy, because we shouldn't have more than 99 aisles in our warehouse. And if we do, then we'll change that. Now, also I want to have, how many inbound docks do I want to have? And I'm going to have 1. And then how many outbound docks do we have? And I'll have 1 as well. So this is going to, or let's say we've got 2 docks that we're using here. So we have 1 for receiving and then 2 for shipping out, and depending on how we manage our shipments. And now it's going to say how many, for the picking locations, how many do we want to have? So what it's going to say is how many inventory aisles do I want to create? I want to create 3. How many racks do we want to create on this? And I'm going to say I want 5 of those. And then how many shelves do we want to have for this picking location? So now I'm going to choose just the first 3 shelves, because these are large shelves and that will be probably around about 8 feet or taller when we have this. And then what it's going to do is I've got my measurements for the shelf, which is coming through in the default configurations that we've set up. And then we're going to actually see all of the inventory locations that are being created. And there's a lot of them. Let's go back. And I'm just going to create, we'll keep this configuration. And then also what it says is what do we want to create some bulk locations? And I'm going to create bulk locations, but I'm going to say that they're going to be the top shelf of our aisle. So, and they're the same size here. And then I'm going to have the aisle 1, row 1, shelf 4. So all of these shelves are going to be the bulk locations. They're higher up so we can actually store more. But maybe what we want to do is the height is going to be 72 inches or 36. Let's do 108 inches. So we can, let's do 72 inches. So these bulk locations can store more than the shelves below because we've got up to the roof that we want to track. So this is now telling us that we want to create all of these locations here. And we're going to finish this. And now if I go and look at my inventory locations, then for the Waterdeep warehouse, we've got all of these locations that are created, including the bulk locations. Let's find a bulk location. And also we've got the inbound and outbound docks, which are configured as well. And if we look at the tree structure, then what we can see is we've got on the aisle, let's compress these. If I look at like this picking location, then we can look at the rack and we've got 4 shelves on here, and then we've got a picking location. And then further down, we've got more items. Now let's see what that does. Okay, so this is telling us some additional information about the shelves, something I hadn't tried before, but it was interesting to look at. So now that we've gone out and done that, then what we're going to do is we're going to, if we move back to the documentation, what we're going to do is we're going to update some of the default locations. And what we're going to do is we're going to say, where are we going to be picking and putting items by default within the system? So if I go back to my warehouse, now I can go out and I can have update some of this information. I could go out and create a default receipt location, and I'm going to receive it into the in location. And then my, let's see, my default issue location is going to be one of our outbound warehouse locations. And then we're just going to leave that by itself. Although, let's go and let me see if I can create one more. Okay, so let's cancel that. So when we let me just refresh this. We'll ignore that change. Okay, so we've got all of our inventory locations and they're looking good. Now, when we set up warehouse management, what we're going to do is we're going to have an additional way that we're going to manage these inventory locations. And usually I'm going to have a floor location. and maybe I've got a production location or a production issue location as well. But we've gone out and we've now configured our warehouse. And if I look at the aisles, then we can see that we've got 3 aisles in this location that we can go out and manage. So we've now got some of the configuration configured. But now what we're going to do is we're going to go out and we're going to create 2 more warehouses quickly. And we're going to create a quarantine warehouse, and we're going to create an in-transit warehouse. So these are going to be required, because what we can do is when we look at our warehouse, then it's going to ask us for a quarantine and in-transit. Whenever we transfer items, we need to have a transit warehouse that we're using for these updates. So we're going to have these quarantine warehouses and the transit warehouse configured. So let's go out and create a new warehouse. And what we're going to do is we're going to say this is going to be the Waterdeep quarantine. And I'm going to paste this in just so that I spell quarantine right. And then this is going to be for the Waterdeep site. And then this is going to be a quarantine warehouse. So let's see. Okay. So I'm going to include the aisles. Let's see. Yeah, I'm just going to let's have an aisle here. And then what I'm going to do is let's include the rack and the shelf. And keep that same format that we had before. This can also be quarantine warehouse. It's 01 Waterdeep. It's on 27 Fish Gutter Lane. Just make sure that's correct. And this is on the dock ward. And then we're going to, let's see, we're going to go out and create the location wizard. We're going to run through this process really quickly. And we're going to have, I think, we're just going to have the inventory aisles in here. And I'm going to have 1 aisle. And then I just have this 1 aisle here. And I'm going to finish this. And if I look for the quarantine warehouse, whoops, let's see. Let's go and run this again. Let's choose the inventory aisles. Try. Okay. Let's just refresh this. Let me look at the hierarchy. Okay. We'll leave that how it is. And then also I'm going to create a new warehouse. And I'm going to call this the Waterdeep in Transit. And this is going to be for Waterdeep. And then this is going to be a transit warehouse. And I'm going to choose that. And I'm not going to include a warehouse, an address for the in-transit, because the in-transit is more of a conceptual location, and save that. So what we've done is we quickly went through and we created the quarantine warehouse, and then we created a transit warehouse just the same way. And let's see. And then finally, what we're going to do is we're going to finish this off, and we're going to assign these two warehouses to our warehouse. So this is the final sort of configuration that we do. So I've got my Waterdeep warehouse here, and there's two more fields here. So we've got our quarantine warehouse. So I can choose the Waterdeep QR, and then I could choose my Waterdeep in transit warehouse here. And so now we've got our in transit warehouse as well configured here. Now something that we could do is this in transit warehouse is used for all of our warehouses. So I may go out and I could create a warehouse for just Faerûn here, which is in transit. And then I'm just sort of thinking this through. And I could create a new location here, which is Faerûn, or a new site. And then this Faerûn in transit can be for Faerûn. And then we could just have this set up. And the reason why I did that is that even though the in transit, okay, it's not allowing me to do that. So I was thinking that they would actually, I've seen it allow us to use in transit locations that aren't in the particular site. So let's delete this. That didn't work very well. And then if I go over to my sites, and filter this out, I can let's delete the Faerûn site just to keep things tidy. So what we've got is we've now got our warehouse configured so that we can go out and use. We've got locations inside of there. We've got a quarantine warehouse, and we've got an in-transit warehouse that's linked to it. We've got default locations that we can go out and receive and issue from within the system. And we have some inventory structures associated with this as well. As a little bit of a side note, if we're using warehouse management, then we're going to check this and turn this on. We don't want to do that right now. We'll go out and create a new warehouse when we configure the warehouse management in the system. So let me just look. Okay, so that actually finishes all of our inventory structures, because all we need is a warehouse within the system. So this is a good stopping point, and it's at our 30-minute mark. So what we've done in this process is we've gone out and we rejigged the warehouses a little bit from how I set it up initially, but now we've got our Waterdeep warehouse that we can inventory product in. We've also got the in-transit and the quarantine set up. We've got locations set up. So now in the next episode that we're going to be, or the next live stream that we're working through, what we're going to do is we're going to configure the products and sort of link everything up, and then we can go out and we can use our journals and we can create some inventory in the system. So that's pretty cool for just creating inventory locations in the system. So if anyone has any questions about this, we'll close this off. And what we're going to do is, if you have any questions, then put them in the chat within YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn, depending on where you're watching this, and I'll try to get back to you. If you want to support this project, and then I always say every copper piece counts, and you can support it by scanning the link up there, and you can go to patreon.com/AD&D365 and maybe pledge a little bit of support so that we can keep the servers up and running. And if you want to see this documentation, then you can go to adnd365.com/start, and you'll see all the documents we've got. And as we finish these new documents, then those will be published up there as well. So we're going to close off this live stream, and everyone have a great whatever afternoon or morning or rest of the day, depending on where you are in the world.